boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of Prime Video's new adult animated anthology series, Secret Level, which is a show that is consisted of 15 stories set in the worlds of different video games, actual video games. This comes to us from Tim Miller, who is over Blur Studios, who teamed up with Amazon MGM Studios to bring us this show. Tim Miller may know he is a director. He directed the first Deadpool. He directed Terminator Dark Fate, two films that I enjoyed live action wise. And he's also the head of Blur Studios. And they brought us Love, Death, and Robots over there on Netflix. I think it was 2 seasons. Love that show. I love the animation style as well as the storytelling from that anthology series as well. So when they announced this particular show that I knew nothing about until I saw the trailer, to be honest with you, maybe about a month ago, I'm like, oh, this is unique. This is interesting. And once I saw all the parties involved, I'm like, oh, definitely going to check this out. Prime Video has been quietly knocking it out the park. Not a lot of people talk about Prime Video, but Prime Video has been giving us some gems over the last couple of years, man. I mean, as far as like content wise, as far as video games or comic book content, Invincible is a banger. The Boys is a banger. Gen V, the list goes on and on. They have been giving us some really good content out of this video game slash comic book type world that we live in now, where the geeks are running the world. And I am here for it. Diving into this video game aspect of it all was a very cool concept, I think, because Secret Level basically is like the underworld of the video games that we know and love. And it is a secret level, if you will, like a bonus level that you would get in the game. And I loved it. I enjoyed this show. The animation throughout is top notch. I mean, if you love Death and no pun intended, if you love Death and Robots from on Netflix, you're gonna love this. I think the style of it is unique. Not so much a different style throughout, even though they had different studios do their own little take in different stories here. But as far as the style of the animation, it's relatively the same. But I enjoyed this. We have 8 episodes that dropped on Prime Video on December the 10th. This is a 15-part or 15 episode series. We're going to get the other 7, I believe, next week. And I can't wait. I can't wait. I was mad when we got to the 8th episode of this little run. And I'm like, where's the rest? Where's the rest? I'm hurrying up. I'm Googling, trying to figure out, like, man, they're going to release it later or what? Is it? That's it? I mean, but come to find out, we're getting them on the 17th of December. But these first 8 were enough to hold me over till the end. These are some really good episodes, breaking it down by episode. The first one is a Dungeons and Dragons episode entitled The Queen's Candle. Episode 2 is from Seifu. I believe I'm saying it right. It's entitled It Takes a Life. Episode 3, New World, entitled The Once and Future King. Episode 4, Unreal Tournament. I played that. Episode is entitled Zen. And episode 5, Warhammer 40,000. Episode title, And They Shall Know No Fear. Episode 6, Pac-Man. Yeah. Entitled Circle. Episode 7, Crossfire. The episode title is Good Conflict. And episode 8, Armored Core, entitled Access Management. out of all of these episodes, I enjoyed all eight. My favorite, which was hard to pick, to be honest with you, because they're all good for different reasons. You know, none of these are the same. Out of all eight episodes, you can't say, "Oh, episode 7 was just like episode 3." No, none of these episodes feel the same. They are all their own contained story, which is the sheer definition of anthology. So that's what makes this show great. But it's hard to pick which one is my favorite. If I had to pick, I would go with 3, episode 3, New World, the Once and Future King, for nostalgic reasons. The reason being the voice cast. One in particular, who happens to be the lead in this episode, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, he lends his voice. He lends his voice to this character, King Hellstrom. And this is a hot take. This is probably Arnold Schwarzenegger's greatest performance I've ever seen. I'm not joking. I'm not even trying to crack a joke or be just viral or anything like that. His character was so good, and Arnold Schwarzenegger nailed it to a T. You can make the argument that, well, it's not much of a stretch for him because that was basically him, but I just can't. As I was listening and watching, I'm in awe of the power that came through his voice because it was so good. Normally, when you get shows like this, animated shows, and they have these high profile celebrities voice characters, you can't help but see that celebrity or that movie star or whatever come through. You know, you don't see the character, you see the star who's voicing them. And it happens a lot. It actually happens in this show in episode 8. And I'll get to that in a second. But this one here, I didn't feel that way. I felt like I was watching King Hellstrom. I didn't feel like I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And when a character or when an actor really gets into a role and disappears literally into a role, that's when you know they're cooking. And Arnold Schwarzenegger cooked in this show. I loved it. I rewatched it twice. I loved that episode. Now, saying it's my favorite is it's kind of a stretch. I guess I wouldn't say the episode was my favorite, but that was definitely my favorite performance. As far as episode is concerned, it's kind of a tie between Warhammer 40,000 and Pac-Man. I'm sorry, not Pac-Man, but well, a three-way tie: Pac-Man and Crossfire. Warhammer 40,000. That's a game that I always was kind of interested in playing, but I never got around to playing. And after watching this episode, I was like, man, I gotta play this game. This looks cool. I think they're making a series of this starring Henry Cavill, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was announced. I don't know if it was canceled or nothing like or anything like that. This was a couple of years back, just before Henry Cavill left his agency and all this other stuff. So I don't know if that's still on the table, but it would be cool to see that in live action. But I liked this episode. I really did. The Pac-Man episode, if I didn't know it was a Pac-Man episode until kind of midway through. And the way that the episode plays out is so innovative. It's like a new realistic, grittier, bloodier take on Pac-Man that is not for cheap pops or anything like that. It's really a thought-provoking episode that ends up being about Pac-Man, because Pac-Man at his core is a silly concept, but it's nothing silly about this episode, but yet it's still Pac-Man. And I appreciated so much what it did. And when you watch it, you'll grow a greater appreciation for Pac-Man. I tell you that much. the other one that's in this kind of three-way tie, which is kind of weird. It's weird to say that. All of them are good. I'm not gonna say my favorite because that's stupid. I just named 3 episodes that are quote unquote my favorite, but I love them all. But these are the ones that I guess you could say stuck out. But the Crossfire episode was another one, which was the most realistic out of them all, I believe. Um, I love the premise. I love the animation. It really felt real. I mean, it was certain little scenes or little shots in this episode that reminded you that it was animation. But the majority of that episode, the way it played out, it felt like a live action show. It was that good of animation. It's scary, really, that that they could animate that well. Um, Really, really good. I enjoyed it to the highest degree. To jump back into that 8 episode that I mentioned before, where you can't help but see that star instead of the character, and that was the Armored Core episode. And in that episode, Keanu Reeves stars in that episode. You know, John Wick himself, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, but all I can see is Keanu Reeves. But he did a good job. I'm not knocking it. I don't want it to come off as, oh man, Keanu mailed it in or went for a paycheck. No, 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 no. It's really good. It's just I don't know how to word it, to be honest with you. All I could see was Keanu Reeves. Now, granted, the animation was his likeness, so that that didn't help any, but but it still it just felt like Keanu Reeves. It didn't feel like that character. But yet and still, I enjoyed the episode immensely. Also in that episode, another voice that we talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger in his episode. Well, his son came in for some of this goodness here. Patrick Schwarzenegger, he voices a character in this particular episode as well. But overall, all 8 episodes are enjoyable, real fun watch. It's one of those watches that after you get to episode 8, you immediately want to rewind, go back to the first episode and rewatch them again, which I did. I enjoyed it that much. I highly recommend Prime Video's Secret Level, especially if you're a big fan of Love, Death, and Robots. If you love that show, you're definitely going to love this show. If you are into these video games, you're definitely going to love this show. Please go check it out. Secret Level on Prime Video. Highly, highly recommended. I would love to know if you checked it out. What did you think? And what was your favorite episode of the 8? Let me know by email. kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel. Like this video, share this video. Help the show out on that platform as well. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Prime Video's new adult animated series, Secret Level. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.